Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mayor's Monday Message for November 9th, 2020. I want to start off by congratulating everybody that had a role in the election process over the last week. I want to congratulate and thank all of the candidates that chose to participate. It's not an easy thing to be involved in a race for an elected position. I wanted to thank all the poll workers. I want to thank the county staff for having a great election. I want to thank the poll watchers, everyone involved in supporting candidates, and of course, all of the voters. It is a true testimony to you and to the United States that even though we're obviously in a country that is nearly 50-50 divided, we can still go to the polls and realize that this is what defines our democracy, and this is who will run our country, our state, our local governments, and that we will respect the citizens of the United States and their choices. So I want to thank everybody again for participating. Going to start off, this is not going to be a very uplifting Monday message because I'm starting with the budget. I'm starting with a place that I'd hope I'd never be, but I think everyone deserves to know the truth, and I'm not a person that hides the truth. I take it on straight on. So the city of York for many decades has been trying to put off major tax increases, put off the budget expenses. This goes back into last century, where we tried to defer pension payments. Then a lawsuit came back and said, hey, you got to pay those pension payments. We have tried to take money out of the sewer fund and put it in to help pay for the police and fire, where expenses continue to rise. And we've spent down our savings. Now this year, we've spent it down to nothing. Now, over the last 3 years, I guess 2 years of budgets that I've prepared, my team has prepared, we've been able to shield the people and businesses of the city from tax increases and most of the fee increases. Now, before I go forward, I want to make sure everybody knows we have a plan to avoid everything that I'm about to talk about. But at the same time, everybody should know and be prepared for the worst. Again, you plan for the worst. That's what good planning is. If everybody could just plan for the best, there wouldn't be a lot of planning. Everything you wish would happen would just come true. But that is not the case. So for all of these decades, we have been trying to do our best to live within rules that were made last century, in a time when big business was thriving in the city of York, when wealthy taxpayers, wealthy owners lived in the city of York, when the income of the individuals in the city of York was much higher. At that time, they designed a tax system that would focus on the property values and the income of the people of the city to pay for improvements that they started making over a century ago. All of our sewer lines, our roads, our lights, all of these things that take money to keep up. Just, as I speak, I hope that you can picture your own household, because the city is just a big household. You have improvements on your house, a pipe breaks here, a window breaks, you need to replace the heater, the heating system, all these things. That's what happens in the city of York, just on a larger scale. So this system was created at that time, and they did not foresee that many of the large businesses would end up leaving the city of York. Places that were major centers of manufacturing, for instance, out on the east side, American Chain and Cable, all those buildings were thriving and bringing tax revenue to the city of York. Now many of them are warehouses that do not provide jobs for the community, or else, the Cable House, it provides residents but it does not provide for the tax income the way these businesses used to. At the same time, as I mentioned, some of the higher paid individuals, York used to be the hub of everything. I know it's hard to imagine now, but prior to the highway system in the 50s and 60s, when these tax systems were created, York was where everything was happening. The highest value of everything was here in the city of York. And now what we've really seen is the opposite. We've got one of the lowest incomes for individuals in the entire Commonwealth. We've got some of the lowest property values. And in turn, because of this, as the property values stagnated or even became lower, for instance, our property values now for the city of York, taxable properties, are lower than they were in 2005. Imagine that. Everything we own, everything that is taxed, is now worth less than what we were trying to live on in 2005. So this creates a spiral where the taxes keep going up and the property values just stagnate or actually go down, while property values in other communities go up. And so we end up with our expenses going up, 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 and our revenues just staying the same. Or with this year, we actually saw our revenues decrease dramatically. Unfortunately, we've seen our earned income tax revenue go down $3 million. We've seen other income go down, and we expect that 2021 is going to have some of the similar effects because the coronavirus isn't going away tomorrow. We know that. So it's a very tough budget season, and I have two proposed budgets. One that I'm going to present to council starting tomorrow night, and it is a horrible budget. It includes cutting lots of jobs, it includes cutting police officers, and it includes raising fees and includes raising taxes dramatically. Again, this is the planning for the worst, and that is how we have to approach things. We are looking at potentially about a $14 million deficit in the budget if we would just continue as things are today. We want to keep the number of employees, we want to keep the number of police officers, we want to make sure that everybody gets proper pay raises, we want to put all the money into parks and recreation that we want to. We want to fix roads, we want to do that. $14 million is what it would cost us above what the revenue is now that is being generated. So as I said, we do have a plan, and that plan includes, that plan includes putting us on some tough times. We're going to see a nearly $4 million increase in our pension costs. We have healthcare costs that we've deferred by paying out of our savings. We've got $2.5 million in wastewater treatment plant upgrades that need to be made. $37 million in known treatment plant upgrades that we need to make in just the next 10 years. So here's where the tough decision is that York City has to make. I have to make it first, council has to make it, and we all have to, we're all going to have to work with it. If you can imagine in your home, you right now cannot afford your car payments or your house payment or your electric bills, anything like that, and you have a couple things that that you like to have, that you feel it's good to have, but they're costing you lots of money. what I call, and this analogy isn't exactly perfect, but it's the family heirlooms. It's the silver. It's the family silver. It's whatever, whatever valuable things that you have in your household. And what the city of York has is a wastewater treatment plant. And this wastewater treatment plant costs us a lot of money every year to run and to keep up and to improve because of new environmental regulations. On the books, it looks like an asset, but when you look at how much it costs us to run every year, it is not something that is really helping us in the long term. We can't afford it. It's almost like a second house. Do you keep the second house or do you get rid of the second house? So we will be entertaining over the next month bids for the sale of the wastewater treatment plant and collection system. I painted you the horror story of what will happen if we don't have an alternative plan. If we can get a good price for the wastewater treatment plant, we can reduce our taxes by over 20%. We can put aside money to help people with their sewer and refuse bills, because refuse, I didn't even mention, is going through the roof too. The new contract is, I think, $1.5 million more than the last contract, so we have to pay more for refuse. 2020 has not been the year for us. It has not been the year for many of us personally, and it has not been the year for the country or the world, but financially, it's just one thing after another. So I have personally asked that the council look at this budget and try and look at what I'm calling the doomsday budget. Look at it and see if we can make it any better. But it's not, the kind of changes that we can make are not going to make it a lot better. Can we eliminate more police? Can we eliminate mowing of the parks and the trimming of trees? And can we not pave any more streets? Those are possibilities, but we've already tried to trim it to what we think is the most austere, so the cheapest budget that we can have while still surviving as a city. So that budget is going to be presented over the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 o'clock each night. And we're going to have a Zoom link. These are going to be virtual budget hearings where the directors and the managers of the city will be presenting their budgets. And on Tuesday, tomorrow night, it'll be the elected and appointed officials and business administration. It's at 6 o'clock. On Wednesday, it'll be economic development, public works, and the wastewater treatment plant. And on Thursday, it'll be police and fire. So every night, and I did, since I put my message together, get a Zoom link, and I will make sure I get that up there and include it in the post. So there's a Zoom link that you can join in, and there is a period for public comment after the presentations by the department directors and deputy directors and managers. So hope you can join us, and I want you to keep in mind, though, 2 budgets. There's a budget A, I've already called it the doomsday budget, and there's a budget B, where we can use a small portion of the proceeds of the sale of the wastewater treatment plant to balance the budget, still keeping it as slim as we can, and also provide a 20% tax decrease that will hopefully spur more business development, more residents moving into the city, and a growth spurt within the value of this city. Because if you can imagine, something that just doesn't even raise in value, you have a business, you own a business, and your income just never goes up. But every single expense goes up. That's the situation that the city is in. We need to find a way to increase these property values, to get businesses into the city. And while our taxes are the highest in central Pennsylvania, it's hard to convince businesses to move into the city. We're watching them leave. We're watching some great ones move in, and I thank them for that. But we're also seeing some of the big hitters like Dentsply. Dentsply was a neighborhood business. My neighbors worked at Dentsply. They were able to walk to Dentsply. And now big businesses like that, they're just continuing the same trend that started back in the 70s. So we've got to make tough decisions, and I hope that you'll all stick with us while we do this, and listen very carefully, because there are important questions that need to be asked, and we're going to try and answer them all over the next few days. So I hope you will join us on those virtual meetings. Couple good events this week. It's actually kind of quiet around, which is good because COVID is on the rise again. But there is a great virtual presentation from York College on domestic violence. It's called No Visible Bruises with Rachel Louise Snyder, and that'll be tomorrow night. I put the link to the event on my post. It'll be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So if you're not at the budget hearings virtually, you can attend this, and they're going to be taking a deep dive into the causes of domestic violence. We see it 15% of the violence caused by domestic violence, including some of the homicides that we've seen here in the city. But who goes into the deep roots of why this is happening? That's what this discussion is going to be about. And I'm sorry I won't be able to make it because of the budget hearings, but I wanted to make sure that you knew about it because it is very important and very close to home for some of us. So please check out that event. Also, if the Greener Codorus initiative continues to go on, I want to thank everybody that's participating, because as I drive across the bridges every week, I see more and more is getting done, and I'm going to try and get out there and get some more done myself. This week, it is Thursday at 3 o'clock. Folks are meeting down at the Foundry Plaza Boat Basin, 200 block of West Philadelphia Street, and they are meeting for a couple hours to go out there and do some hand chopping and weed whacking of those plants along the Codorus Creek, again, so that the Army Corps of Engineers does not come in with their maintenance plan, which is to spray herbicides and kill everything along the creek. We don't like that look. We don't like that for the environment. We don't like that for our city. So we have to do something about it ourselves. So I hope you'll join on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Finally, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. The COVID-19 numbers are going up. We're very lucky, or I should say, I'm glad that we are seeing the results of all of the work that everyone has done. Even to wear a mask, I know, is work. Even to not go to a friend's house or not go to an event is work. But if we would not have done this work, these cases would have grown exponentially. That means, 2 becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 16. It just keeps on going. And we've been able to hold that curve, but now it has been increasing a little bit. Not at that high exponential level, but it has. And last week here in York County, we saw the highest number of cases ever in one day at 146 cases in just one day. We have a 14-day long-term average of 240. So that's the highest it's ever been in York County. So if you think about this, it means that the environment around you, the people around you, you have a better chance of catching coronavirus today than you've ever had before. So even though you're getting exhausted of the work, you're getting depressed, you're getting, just done with it. I mean, we're all done with it. But the fact is that if we do not continue to take precautions, it is just going to get worse and worse. So the city's numbers have been staying steady. So thank everybody in the city and the county, everybody around, that is wearing their mask and staying social distance. Of course, wearing your mask if you can. There are now the other face shields and things, so there aren't a lot of excuses not to have some kind of protection for your loved ones, your neighbors, for people that you walk by on the street, and anybody that you get within 6 feet of. Basically, that's what we are trying to do, reduce. Anytime you are within 6 feet. So, we've lost over 200 people now in York County to coronavirus. And, of course, none of us want to contribute any more to that. So, again, let's just be careful. Let's see each other from a distance. One thing that's still driving me crazy is we don't need to shake hands or even fist bump. We can just look each other in the eye and respect each other. Every time you're touching, even the fist bump, any of it, you are potentially passing this virus on. We can look each other in the eye and show respect for each other. We can give a little nod, we can bow, I think I said early on, you can do the Spock symbol, live long and prosper, because that's what this is all about. We live longer if we stop physically interacting in that way when it's unnecessary. So, please, just be careful as you can. We can't be perfect. None of us are perfect. But every time we think ahead of time, we'll reduce one more chance of somebody getting sick. So let's stay healthy and enjoy another couple of beautiful days. And I hope to see you around the city of York. Have a good week.